Subtracting integers with integer chips. This is a digital lesson, and it starts by explaining to students what integers are, so they're whole numbers and their opposites. It does not include fractions or decimals. And the next slide explains absolute value. So 4 and negative 4 are going to have the same absolute value because they're the same distance from 0. And then the fourth slide will explain the meaning of the chips. So red chips designate negative, yellow chips are positive, and a zero pair would be one negative and one positive together that equals 0. Now on slide 5, it shows them how to subtract. So we've got -6 and subtract 2. Well, here's our -6 red chips. We can't subtract two positives because we don't have two positives. So we're going to add two zero pairs. That'll give us two positives to subtract, and will leave us with our answer of -8. 8 red chips. Next example is -4 subtract -2. So here's -4, 4 red chips. If we subtract two negatives, that leaves us with our answer of -2. Now students are going to be doing their own starting on slide 7. So they're given these chips to use. The first problem is 8 subtract 3. Now this one's pretty simple. They have to have 8 positives. So just click and hold on these chips and they can move them into place. Seven, 8. Okay, so there's our 8 positives. If we take away 3 positives, 1, 2, 3, we have our answer. What is left? +5. Now let's try this one's a little bit more difficult. -3 subtract 1. So we want to show -3, which is 3 red chips. We don't have a +1 to subtract, so we have to add a zero pair. We're going to add 1 yellow, 1 red. Now we can subtract the 1, and that leaves us with 4 red or -4. So you might have to go through some of these with the students before they're on their own. Next one is 2 subtract 5. And it gives a little hint at the bottom, add 3 zero pairs. So we need +2. I can't subtract 5 because I don't have 5 positives to subtract. So if I add 3 zero pairs, 1, and this is the same as adding 0, so I can add as many as I want. Now I have 5 to subtract, so I'm going to get rid of these 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've left with my answer 3 negatives or -3. So all of the completed slides are on here for the teacher, so you can check before you check the students' answers. So here we have -4 subtract 5. I have to add 5 zero pairs. So they have several to complete. When they get to slide 13, they don't have the hint. They're going to have to figure that out on their own. And then slide 15, just a very simple sentence frame. They just have to put a number in here. So I can add zero pairs because adding a zero pair is the same as adding, and they're just going to type in 0. Now here has a reminder, slide 16, the rules for adding integers. If the signs are the same, they add, keep the sign. The signs are different, they subtract. Take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. Now, another way to subtract integers is just to change their subtraction problem to an addition problem by inserting a plus sign after the first number. So -8, -6 is the same as -8 plus -6. They just added a plus sign after the first number. And then they can use the rules for adding integers to solve. So slide 18, all the students are going to be doing here is changing each problem to an addition problem. So they're not solving yet. So this one would be 6 plus -20. Just adding a plus sign after the first number. When they get to slide 19, then they're going to be giving the solution. So they might want to use scratch paper here, change their problem to an addition problem, and then add. Now, subtracting a negative is the same as adding. If you take away a negative, then you have a positive. So an easy method for subtracting a negative is just to circle the two negative symbols that are next to each other. There's no number in between. So if we circle those and we change that to a plus sign, we now have -8 plus 5, and then they can solve. So slide 21, they're just changing each to an addition problem. So the first one, 6 plus 5. And then on the final slide, they're giving the solutions. So they're just going to type in the solution to each one. So that is a digital lesson on subtracting integers with integer chips.